G'day guys, so we are at part 6 of the Seagull Models Xtreme Decathlon build series. So this video may be the last or the second last video in this series, and it's actually come along really well, actually, I have to say. So in this video we will be tackling, I guess you could say, some of the final assembly and some of the last major assembly. So in this video we will be installing the engine and the fuel tank, plus we will be doing, like I said, some of the final assembly. So that will include some minor things like installing the pilot and that, and doing like the wing struts and maybe just a few little things here and there. So I've done one thing off camera. So in the last video we did the vertical and horizontal stabilizers, and in that it was just mainly, like I said, I think it was about 98% done. So what we'll do is we'll have a quick go over to the model, and I'll give a quick recap and show what I've done off camera, and then we'll continue on. Alright guys, so this is the tail section all finished. So in the last video, put the vertical and horizontal stabs on. We did the control surfaces and got the hinges all set up nicely. Also installed the rear tail light, or rear tail navigation light. And off camera I did the rigging for it. These I'm not really sure if they're a structural thing or they're there for, you know, just for scale appearance. I will, however, make sure that, you know, they're done up properly, so I'll go over them later. What I like to do, I have had models with this sort of thing before, and instead of thread lock, I'll go over with a bit of medium CA and then spray it with a bit of kicker, and that way it stays in place and will not move. I've also, and this counts for the other side, done the control rods and the control horns for the servo. It's all done. Plus what I've done is I've also programmed the servos, not actually programmed the servos, but with the radio, like set the sub trims and if it needs reversing and so on and so forth. So that's been done. And so what I've done is I've done a few things off camera as well. So I've put the communication antenna on. This isn't functional, guys. This is purely for looks. But what I've also done too is I have really just installed the windows, well, the side windows, and the it's not here, the hatch window. You can probably see I've got a propeller inside there that's actually pushing up against that last glass on the side. This was a bit of a challenge. So what I did is I did the hatch, the roof hatch, and you can see how it's gone a bit funny. It kind of clouded a little bit. What I did is because this was the very first one I did, I didn't want to use epoxy because epoxy can go yellow. So what I did is I got some medium CA, tacked it around there and used some CA kicker. It worked, but the fumes decided, let's ruin it. So I'm a little peeved about that. As you can see, it's fogged up a little bit. There's probably a way of fixing that. So if you have any tips on how to fix that, guys, please drop a comment. I will be very appreciative of that. So what I did is I had to go about this I wouldn't say it was the hard way, but more time consuming way. So as you can see, it's nice and clear. And what I did is I used, oh, good grief, where is it? I had it like, here we are. I used canopy glue. So yeah, the canopy glue, same as what I used for, I know I used it for something else around here. I can't for the life of me remember. But canopy glue on the insides there, and I had to use masking tape on the outside so it would hold it. However, the propeller there is just pushing that little bit up the side there. But it worked. It's nice and clear. And as you can see here, there's a bit of canopy glue that's still, this has been about close to 30 hours maybe. So that's taken a little while to dry. Not so bad on the inside, but if we come around this side here, because it's taking a while, because I'd have to put a bit of like I'd use some masking tape on the edge here, so that way it's holding on the side and then holding the window up against it. And then I would put some of the canopy glue along here. It would dry, then I'd have to take it off, then put some canopy glue around there, then let it dry. So that's what's happening here. So I've done the canopy glue along there. There's a little bit of a smudge, I can fix that up. But as you can see, there's a little bit of white there. I've only just done this bit here. That's why the propeller's there, just pushing it up against there. And got some around the edge here. So it's just drying. It's getting done. So we're getting there, guys. So the last bit that needs to be done, like I said, we've pretty much it's mostly there, but a couple of more things needs to be done. So as you can see, there's no front window. That's not on yet, so that will go on like so. However, there is a reason why I have not put that on. So what we need to do is we need to start measuring the motor plate for the mount, and I have it around here, so it must be in a box somewhere. I have a template for the motor plate, but we also need to measure and how to mount the cowl to the fuselage. And what we also need to do is I need to figure out a way of mounting the tank. Now, in the instruction manual, if we have a quick look here, I think it's a backup page. So as you can see here, guys, so we have the tank here, and it's mounted straight to the bottom plate here. And if we look closely, you can see that that hole, which is that one there, is up high. Now, in all my years of flying model aircraft, instructions have always basically said to have the outlet of the fuel line, like the bung here, level with the carburetor. So the carburetor will be level there, and they've got it mounted straight to the bottom plate there. So I was thinking of 3D printing something to raise it up. However, I did a bit of quick Googling, and because I use a lot of PLA filament for 3D printing things, so we look here, just open the door. So like the this little bracket here and this box here, they're printed in PLA. Problem is, PLA and petrol or gasoline are not compatible. So that is a pain in the butt, because what it does is the fuel basically softens it and weakens it, and yeah, it ruins it. So I've decided what I'll do is I'll get some wood of some kind. I'll like to use a light wood, maybe something like that, and make a mount or something for the tank to sit on that's up high and can be strapped to, but also make it in such a way that it screws onto the bottom plate. So that bottom plate there, it screws onto it, and that way if I have to take the tank out, it's just a couple of screws and out it comes. So that's enough waffling, guys. What I'm going to do now is we're going to start with measuring. I'm going to do this off camera, then I'll explain it. So we're going to start doing the measuring. So the instructions show you how to do it, but I mean, some wording would be nice on how to go about it. But anyway, so we'll get to doing the measuring and get ready for drilling, and we'll continue on from there. Alright, so we have got some lines marked, and before I carry on, I know that there are going to be a couple of people watching this who are unfamiliar with this kind of thing. They're probably looking at this and going, hang on a second, the lines are off. It's offset. Yes, you're correct. It is offset. This is done on purpose. As you can see, that even with this hole here for like the fuel tubing and so forth, it is offset because you cannot mount the engine directly in the middle of the plate here. So I'll explain. If we have a look here, it's a little bit difficult for me. I'm trying to look through the viewfinder here, but as you can see here, this is not level. So the main part here is straight, but as you can see, this is on an angle. That is done on purpose. So regardless of the model, a lot of your models will have an angled thrust, whether it be something like this or a trainer or anything, you know. And what you have to do, especially if you're putting an engine into a cowl, you can't have the engine directly in the middle. So the reason is, I'll try to explain this as best I can. So we have the engine here. So if we got the tip of the crankshaft here. So if the engine is mounted directly in the middle, I don't know if it shows it up on the camera, but you can see how the engine is slightly pivoting to the right, like angled to the right. So what happens is, for every little change here, so say this is the pivot point, over here the crankshaft has more movement, or there's more distance, if that makes sense. So the small amount of change here, it's bigger here. So if this was flat, like perfectly flat, yes, you mount the engine in the middle, the crankshaft comes straight out. However, because this is on an angle, if you mount this in the middle, the crankshaft is going to be on an angle as opposed to in the middle, so it'll be on an angle, and I'm exaggerating this just to explain the point. because it'll be on an angle, when you have the cowl on, when you look directly at it, the propeller and spinner will be offset. So we have, just for an example here, give me a second guys, I just gotta put those little screws there. So we have our propeller and spinner. So if it was in the middle, and the motor plate was flat, the engine would be perfectly in the middle. But because it's on an angle, and if you mounted it in the middle, the prop would be offset, if that makes sense. So it would look like that. So that, and I'm exaggerating this just so you can get an idea. So that's why this is offset. So the engine is offset. So that way, when you mount the engine, even though the prop will be on a slight angle, it'll be perfectly in the middle of the fuselage and in the middle of the cowl. So if that makes sense. So that's why it's done on purpose. So, and the guide for the mounts for measuring and that is offset. So that way the engine, while the engine is slightly offset, when the crank comes out, it will be in the middle and it won't look stupid. So I hope that explains it. So what I've done here is I initially made this little template. Now what I've done is I have drawn on the lines and everything to mark it all. And as you can see here, it all, I'm trying to look through the camera and and do line of sight as well. So as you can see, it all lines up. So now what I need to do is drill the holes or mark the holes, make sure, and this is a measure multiple times, cut once or drill once sort of scenario. So you don't want to stuff this up. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to mark where the holes are to be, and check it to make sure it looks right, and we'll continue from there. All right, so we are getting towards, I guess you could call it, the drilling stage, just before we mount it. Now, what I did, I'm hopeless. I'm always forgetting where I put stuff. All right, here it is. Okay, so what I've done, so saw the template here, and what I did is I lined it up and masked it and put the dots for the where to drill. Now what I've also done is, it comes in handy. So what I've done here is I have some digital calipers, and I measured the distance across here. And so, because obviously the box section itself is perfectly in the middle, so it's equal on each side. And I measured the distance, I halved it, so that half of it is 73 millimeters. So therefore went to half. And what I've done here, it's a bit excessive at the moment, but what it is this represents the absolute middle of the aircraft. And so when I'm going to try my best to get this on camera. So when we so what I've done is I have put a couple of marks on the top mounts here, which are the middle. So if they're lined up, as you can see, guys, the crankshaft meets the middle of the rod there. So now we know that is the correct position for mounting and drilling holes. Like I said, this is this sort of thing you don't want to rush this stage. You want to make sure that it's all lined up and so forth. And in case you're wondering if I went nuts with the rod and the rod's not lined up correctly, if I just got a battery in a box holding this up, just plop that there. All right. So as you can see, got 73 millimeters here and 73 millimeters there. So as you can see, that is in line there, and that is the middle of the aircraft. So I just had the battery on top holding it there, so it's going along. And so therefore, by doing that, I can see that when I place the engine up against and lined it up with those two holes with the two marks that I had on the standoff mounts, that as it meets in the middle of the tip of the crankshaft meets the middle. That's what I'm trying to say. So, pardon me. So now that's done. So now comes the scary part of drilling in the holes, because once you've done that, there is no going back. So guys, I'll be back momentarily with hopefully the engine mounted. Oh right, so you're probably thinking, hang on a sec, where's the engine? This is one of those things, guys, where measuring twice, the saying measure twice, cut once comes in handy. So the instruction manual, and I'd like to point out too, so this Decathlon is, I guess you would call it an updated version of the old Decathlon. The problem is that in this instruction manual, it's the instruction, like the model itself is virtually the same, but the instructions, as you can see here, it's showing you to do the measuring to go in line with the hole. And as you can see, these are still just the dots that I've put. So as it shows you how to measure it, so that's what I've done here and that. But as you can see here, we've got a cross here. So essentially, basically where I've followed the instructions, and so these drill holes here, as you can see, fit around the hole. And so that's what I've done there, as you can see from the lines. Problem is, this down line here is correct. This one is wrong. This one should, by the looks of things, go in line with this one here. Because what I did is, with the engine, I got some some big zip ties, and like there's some zip ties on the ground there, but got some zip ties, wrapped them around through the hole and out this hole, and then put some other zip ties around the standoff mounts on the engine, and got the engine to sit where it would be, where I've marked. And then I attempted to fit the cowl, and the hole of the cowl is, say, about here, just for example's sake, but the crankshaft was down too low. So the instruction manual needs to be updated. Like, you know, okay, yeah, they've got that cross there, but I thought, you know, like I said, it needs to be updated. So this is where it pays to take your time, guys. So I'm glad I caught that, and I'm glad I mocked up where I thought the engine would go, because then I would have wasted my time drilling those holes. So hopefully I will remeasure with my template, and hopefully we'll have some updated holes. All right. Well, guys, as you can see, it is mounted, and there's a little bit of faffing about getting things right here and there, but for the most part, the engine itself is mounted. I might have to take it off to do a few things. So one of the things I need to do next is drill a hole for the throttle linkage. So here we have our throttle, and I need to drill a decent sized hole for the control rod to connect to it and go through and to the servo down in there, as you can see. One of the issues I'm going to face here is regarding the throttle. So they give you this thick rod. Now, given that they designed, because in the instruction manual, they're showing installing an OS GT60 engine, and the throttle linkage on it is down here, which means that the throttle, this rod here will be about round here, say, which means that it'll travel along virtually level and be level with the servo here. So that creates a bit of an issue. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to it's either Dubro or Sullivan, I'm pretty sure it's Dubro, make a throttle cable, not a throttle. Actually, I just had an absolute brainstorm, guys. As soon as I said throttle cable, I knew exactly what I need. So, quick backstory, I have a 2-stroke leaf blower where the throttle cable broke. And I went on eBay and got a big roll of motorcycle throttle cable linkage, and it comes with all the ends and so forth. So I'm thinking I could possibly use that as a substitute, because obviously instead of being, you know, a stiff rod, be able to use a flexible cable. And that way it's not putting a ton of stress on the servo and not stressing out the throttle lever here. So I might do that, guys. Isn't that amazing what comes to your head? All right, so as you can see, it's all done, and you're probably thinking, Gav, were the new measurements and alignments correct? I'll show you. And we'll put this on, and I've got it, as you can see, I've got lines marked. So I put that on there, get that butted up to that line, and to that line there. Just tilt it down a pinch and push it in a pinch there. And look at that, guys. To quote Jim Carrey, like a glove. So that's awesome. Fits perfectly. It's going to be a shame though, guys, because I'm probably going to have to. It does say, where the hell did I put that friggin'? There it is. It does say in. Oh, for goodness sake! It does say in the manual here. So bear with me, guys. It might be a little bit dark. I'll build it up here. It does say in the manual regarding the cowl As you can see there, guys, it does show pictures of where to cut holes in the cowl for cooling. So I mean, because you look at that, I mean, that looks absolutely sweet. And I suppose if I had like an 85cc engine, it'd probably be down to about here somewhere. But it does seem a bit of a shame to have to cut a hole in the cowl. So what I'll do for the moment, guys, when I do the final reveal of the aircraft, I'll leave it as it is. One of the other things I have come across too, it's not so much an issue, and if I can find that friggin' light, where is that? Okay, never mind. Sorry guys, I'm all over the place in this video. I'm going to use my torch on my phone. So as you can see, the engine fits perfectly, and so perfect in fact that there's the muffler pipe right there. And so if I cut a hole, the muffler is not going to come out of the cowl at all. So what I think I'm going to have to do, guys, sorry if it's, I'm trying to get this in light for you so you can see. I'm sorry, I'm like a moron at the moment trying to get this. So as you can see, there we go. As you can see, it's barely touching the cowl there. What I think I'm going to have to do, guys, is I think I'm going to have to 3D print a prototype mold for me, and because I have some fiberglass matting somewhere around here, and I think I'm going to have to make like a guide or something, because I can't really use a 3D printed or anything 3D printed because the heat will just melt the plastic. So I think I'm going to have to 3D print something to go behind the muffler, so it sits behind the muffler to guide the exhaust fumes out of the cowl, because it's just going to fill up with exhaust fumes and get hot, and the fumes are, and obviously it's going to be sucking those in through the carb as well, and then it's just going to, yeah, it's just going to be a nightmare. So I think I'm going to have to make a mold of some description once I've cut a hole in the cowl for the exhaust pipe. But yeah, so that's that done. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to mount this off camera, and we'll get, so it's just a case of, so what we'll have to do to mount it is part of the reason why I have these lines marked. So what you'll do is, if you don't have a ruler or digital calipers, what you will do, but in this case I'll just explain, what you'll do is you'll measure from this line here, because that's obviously where the cowl ends, and you'll measure to here. So that is, actually, you know what I'll do is, it helps if I turn it on. So we'll measure that. Sorry if I'm all over the place at the moment, guys, I'm having a bit of a rough day. So that is 36 millimeters. There we go. 36 point, we'll say 36.7, and it's about, yeah, about the same on that side. So we'll measure that from there, and then what we'll do is, when the cowl goes on, we'll put the cowl over. Once the cowl slides on, we put that mark there again, and then we can mark exactly where to drill the hole. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to do this all off camera. There's a bit more involved, but you get the gist of it. So I'm going to start drilling some holes and so forth, and I will be back. Alright guys, so we have the cowl installed. It was pretty straightforward. Got also, while I was off camera, I also installed the ignition system there. Now what I've done to install that, so if I can just get the light prop done properly. Okay, there we go. So if you can see there, there's a cable tie around it, but also if you look closely, you'll see what looks like a thick layer of foam. What that is a special gel that I double-sided. It's like double-sided tape. It's sticky, but it's a gel. It's called vibration absorption gel. I actually use it for my radio control cars, like my nitro powered cars, and I also use it for my nitro powered helicopter. And what it is, it as the name implies, it absorbs vibration. And obviously, especially since I have the ignition system mounted real close to the engine, and the engine obviously being of its size, it will shake a lot because it's a big two-stroke. The whole idea of it is obviously to absorb the vibration and just to protect the ignition system from damage. And that really will help a lot. So the cowl's installed, we have the engine installed, the ignition system installed. What I've also been doing as well is, if I grab my phone again, because I keep misplacing my light. So if I put that there, I can get a decent amount of light. So as I mentioned in the previous clip, I had a bit of a brainstorm with a motorbike throttle cable. So this is it here, guys. It's not done yet, but all that has to be done, so because as you can see, it's actually connected to the throttle, the throttle lever on the engine, and I can actually I'm actually moving the throttle back and forth. So this black part here just has to be glued up against the firewall like so, and then I can connect it to the servo. All that I have to do now to complete this phase is I will plumb the fuel tank and make a mount for it, and then we can get on to the final assembly, guys. So I'll be back in a moment. Okay guys, so fuel tank has been installed. The lines have been attached to like the engine, the tank, and the overflow and the breather, and I mean the breather and the filler, I should say. So down here, let me see, where I know I had my light a few minutes ago. There it is. So if we look just down here, you'll see a little pipe there. So as you can see, there's some tubing coming down into a pipe. Now that there is the breather / overflow. So I'm going to cut a little bit out from the bottom to help with airflow. So that will help aid it with airflow. Plus, obviously, when I'm filling up, a little bit of fuel will come out, so it won't go all over the cowl. So I'll do that later on. We can see here we have the fuel line to the carburetor all done, and then up here we have the fuel filler. So it's a bit of a tight fit, and so but comes out, and little bit of assistance to go in. It doesn't go all the way in because it's very tight fit, but shouldn't come out. Now, I did a bit of research and a bit of Googling. I have the tank, damn it, I need the light again. I have the fuel tank mounted on the bottom here, and it is zip tied. However, if we, I don't know if you can see it, I'll try and get the camera in. On the bottom of the fuel tank, you can see I have some foam. I epoxied some foam to the bottom of the tank, and then it sits on the bottom of the wood plate there, and it is zip tied in. It is not going anywhere. The reason why I used some foam is to protect the tank, because obviously there's going to be vibrations, and we don't want the tank to rupture from vibrations and causing it to wear out. So that has been done. So the tank is installed, the engine is installed, the cowl is installed. It will need to be removed at a later point, a few minor things later on. The throttle cable is installed. It's installed, but it's not secure yet because I have to do programming on the radio. So guys, the only thing left to do now is make the wing struts and do the final assembly, which is just a few things inside and the front window. So guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this all off camera, and it's going to be done. So the next clip is going to be the reveal, guys. Well guys, the aircraft is finished. However, I want to point out now that it is not complete. So I'll get to that shortly. But I've done the final assembly. I've done the wing struts. The wing struts were a bit of a pain in the butt, actually, trying to get things lined up and so forth. But it's done. The pilot's installed. The seat backing is done. So there's no point waiting now. I know you're wanting to see it. We have to go outside for that. So let's go and have a look at it.
And here it is, guys, in all its glory. Now, I haven't connected everything up. It's basically just the wings have been put on and so forth, just for display purposes. But as you can see, it's all done. The wing struts, can't say I'm very impressed with the wing struts. I might have to just go over it again just to make sure everything is done right. But for the most part, it's all done. The wings are just sitting on the wings bar there. No, well, they are bolted in. Very interesting setup. This here too, by the way, this really annoyed me. This is paint, and I used some tape to hold it down for when I used the canopy glue, and as you can see, the paint just peeled off, so I'm going to have to remedy that. And there's an ant there wanting a free flight. But the cool thing with this Decathlon is it has quick release bolts. Now, I haven't used the other bolt to go in there. As I said, it's just sitting on here just for display, but it has a quick release, so you pull that, slide that back, and that wing bolt just slides through. So that's a cool feature. But yeah, it's all done. I am quite happy with it, And yeah, it's definitely, I'm hoping it's going to be a magnificent flying aircraft. The decals on the back were a bit of a pain in the butt to install, to apply. But I think the hardest bit for me was the rear navigation light. That was a nightmare to get through. But it is completed, and for the most part it is done. But what I'm going to do now, guys, is we're going to go back to the workshop, and I'll wrap up this video with a few little details.
Well, guys, there you have it. And in case you're wondering, I have transition lenses, guys. I really only just came inside after bringing everything in. So this really ends the video and the build series. Now, I did say before in that previous clip that there are a few little things I have to mention. So obviously I've built the aircraft, and the question on everyone's mind is obviously, when are we going to see it fly? And look, guys, I wouldn't say I'm itching to see it fly, but I am excited to see it fly. So it's been quite an involved process, and it's definitely the biggest aircraft I've ever built, and I am nervous at the same time. So I don't want to disappoint, but it's going to be a while before we get to see it fly. Why is that, you ask? First of all, the model needs to be balanced, and I can tell from right now that model is tail heavy AF. It's going to need a fair bit of weighing, balancing, and some weight. And because of that, and because of its size, I'm either going to have to build my own balancing jig myself, because all my other aircraft, like the little trainer behind me there, the Corsair behind me there, and so forth, even the like the Yak and the Edge 540 and so forth, they've all been done with fingers, because even though they're fairly large, they're still able to balance them like so. But given the size of this model, I'm going to either have to ask a friend to help balance it, or I'm going to have to build my own balancing jig, which is going to take some time. The other part is I need to program the model. So I've really just built it, and I've just put it together. I haven't programmed all the servos. I haven't programmed the Synapse gyro system. So that's going to take a bit of time as well. Now, one of the other things is, depending on what country you live in, depends on the procedure for flying an aircraft like this. Here in Australia, we have the MAAA, which is the Model Aeronautical Association of Australia. And the rules are that... Sorry about that, guys. GoPro decided to stop. As I was saying, depending on the size and weight of your model, any model that is over, I can't remember if it's 7 or 7.5 kilograms, and I'll put that down in pounds for my American viewers. Any model that is over that weight needs to be inspected by I think they call it a heavy model inspector or a large scale model inspector. So basically what needs to be done is the model needs to be inspected, has to have a list of all the components used, like the engine, the servos, the radio system, the gyro system, batteries, you name it. That has to all be listed, and you have to do has to be inspected first, and then, well, part of the inspection is flying it. So the initial inspection, it has to be inspected before it can fly, and then fly. The last thing that needs to be done isn't with, well, it's to do with the plane, but it doesn't involve the plane. Let me explain. So you're probably wondering, what's this last little thing? And as you can see, guys, we are in the garage. Because of the size of this model, it at the moment, current stage, I cannot fit it into my trailer. So as you can see here, I have the Edge 540 here, which if you remember, I did a series on some time ago. And we have my helicopters here, and I've got a ugly stick down there. So as you can see with the Edge, if I just turn that, there's a little bit of room there. However, with the sheer size of the Decathlon, it does not fit in here with this top shelf here. So in order for me to be able to transport the Decathlon in this trailer, I am going to have to modify it. And it's not going to be a lot involved, but it'll take a little bit of time to do it. So what I'm going to have to do, guys, is I've already marked out, as you can see, I got two lines here, and this is going to be a removable shelf, I guess you could say. So I'm going to have this, make it removable. That way I can, when I go to fly the Decathlon, I can take this out. But I'm going to have to reinforce the underneath, so it's not going to sag and cause any damage at any point. So yeah, guys, there's a little bit of a project ahead. So that is so it is going to take a little bit of time until we get to see the Decathlon fly. So I hope you guys understand this, and I also honestly don't want to rush this process. And there's a few little things I want to change to on the Decathlon. I want to put a different prop on it. I want to put a Falcon carbon fiber prop on it. I might change the spinner too. I wasn't quite impressed with the spinner, but see what happens. But yeah, so that is the end of this video, guys, and that is the end of this series. I hope you've enjoyed watching this series. If you have any comments, please, as always, don't hesitate to comment. I'll do my best to respond to your comments. But until then, guys, as always, enjoy your hobby and cheers.